Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new week where we do back-breaking work.
What is this pose? This is very like paint me like one of your French girls.
Hi, welcome back, where the refit continues. I'm Aladino, and together with Maya, we are refitting a Cape George Cutter 36. Last week we received the samples from Epiphanes to make up our mind which color we want to use, and we have applied those samples. So now that we know that we would like the 9010, we are waiting for the big shipment. In the meantime, this week we're gonna focus on the exterior of the boat. Getting the exterior ready is actually our main priority. We want to get the structural work done and we want to get the boat waterproof. Maya took on the hard job of stripping away the old fiberglass from our cockpit well. Some parts were adhered well, some not so much. There were previous repairs. So yeah, that was quite a job. But now the cockpit well is a blank slate that we can soon re-fiberglass ourselves. I'm doing a little detail work in the cockpit this late evening. And our cockpit came with these cool bronze hardware, which makes part of the drains. The water would funnel through and then the hose goes out. And you can open them. They're pretty cool. And that is to clean them up, of course. And inside there is a ball. What is the ball for? So that is in case you capsize. Mm-hmm. Then it goes upside down and the ball plugs the hole and water is not funneling back into your boat.
Interesting.
Now, how well that works has to be tested. But it's pretty cool. And I like anything bronze, so this is definitely gonna get used again. But I have to do a little bit of prep work.
We should change the name of the channel.
Prep work?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Most even modern builds, they have foam core, and you never want water to come into your core. And in our case, we don't want water to get into our plywood. So it is not enough to just do a proper job with sealant when you install it, but I actually like to always apply glass on the perimeter and the flange and the hole as well. The holes that are now in place were perfect for this. So now I have to change them though, since I want to add glass to the entire perimeter. So I am enlarging everything just a slight bit to allow for the room for fiberglass. When I add fiberglass to the flange though, and I push this one in, because this is my helper as I'm glassing to get the perfect shape, I'm using this as the kind of a mold. But because it has this hollow, the glass would find its way there, and then I couldn't pull it out anymore. So that is no good. And that is why I've taped this one up, and you can see that the widest part just stays parallel all the way to the top. So I'm hoping that the glass then would conform to this, which allows me to take it out again. Alright, I'm done, and that's what the fiberglass flowers look like. So this was totally not planned, but Maya started actually sanding the cockpit today. So I had a look at it tonight too, and then I came up with why not do this. But as midnight missions go, they're not always perfectly planned, but you are set in your ways that you have to do it. So maybe just thinking right now I should have made the holes even a bit bigger. It's It's gonna be a struggle tomorrow to remove those pieces of hardware. They are very snugly in there with a lot of glass and epoxy now. Yep, fingers crossed.
Look at you!
Alright, time to come out of Mama's womb.
What?
Gotta talk nicely to your fittings, to your hardware.
So did you fiberglassed this last night?
Yeah, and now I'm at first attempt of taking one out.
Alright.
It is moving a little bit. I think it might work. Almost there. Can you push it down?
Yeah.
Is that more or less it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try to remove some tape.
It looks so funny, like it's just moving by itself.
Ninja turtles emerging from the sewers. coming through that back door here. Well, now there's not gonna be leaks. There's no more room for them.
Oh, you got it! Nice! Well, that definitely took a bit of effort, but you got there.
Yeah, nice.
Well, great. Now we've got a more waterproof, rot-proof cockpit.
Yeah, and of course a lot of cleanup missing. But I like wherever I can to do this preparation before laying up the glass over top of it,
Yeah.
so that can be smoothed out. And it's so many different pieces of fiberglass that it's nice to have a reassuring flat cover over it afterwards.
Yeah.
Of course, with cutting out again just the perimeter for putting it back into place. One thing that we're doing is removing the hatches. They are gonna go back in place, but we just want to do again some extra steps to reduce leaks in the future. First of all, the caulking that was used, I don't know how recent it was, so we're just gonna rebed the frames, and that's why removing these frames is part one.
And now I swear I can feel them slip away.
So yeah, you can see it producing a lot of smoke, and that's not because the blade is dull, but it doesn't actually have teeth, so it very quickly starts burning up the caulking. But it is super effective and works pretty well.
To make promises for the young and free, but you kept every word you said, and you stayed true to me. You lean into the great beyond, there's more love yet to make. 'Cause some things last forever, but love it never fades.
Hey, you got it! Nice!
You can see here, this was all moisture coming in
Oh, really?
here,
Oh, yep.
and you can see the
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Anyway, we're not always just looking for, oh yes, we found a reason of why we did this. Even if it was still good now, we still would want to do it. Removing the hatch frames ended up working really smoothly. I was dreading it at first, of course, because it's some nice joinery, it's expensive teak, and you don't want to mess it up. But along the same line, they had to come off to do a proper job with the glassing. So now I will get started on the butterfly hatch. It's going to be the same procedure for what you've seen for the hatch in front above deck, but there's one part that I didn't show, and that is that the hatch is actually also screwed in from underneath. It's actually pretty clever, but yeah, that has to be removed first. Removing the butterfly hatch is basically the same procedure, it's just a little bigger, so it will take a little longer. The removal ended up going really well with this technique I worked up. And meanwhile, Maya sanded some more primer in the quarter berth just to get us further along and prepared for when our paint arrives. Around the hatch perimeters, I want to add some fiberglass again, just to waterproof the end grain of the plywood. And fiberglass doesn't like to be bent 90 degrees, so rounding over the edges is always recommended. Moving on to drilling out the holes of where our hardware is installed. So I'm drilling out with this the smallest circular saw that I have, and this is perfect as a guide. It goes exactly in the existing hole, and so this one gives me the flange that will be filled out with epoxy. Drilling holes in the cabin top might seem worrying to some, but it is for a good reason, and I don't mind doing it at all. Of course, one thing to be concerned about is tear out when you're drilling. So we could have one person standing down below holding a wooden block against it, exerting some force. But I find that what also really helps is not pressing with the drill at all. I'm just letting it do its job, and then it's cutting instead of when you press, then it's also that motion. And these also work really great if you have really good sharp ones in reverse, and they get less tear out too. So all in all, it's going pretty well.
But one very important thing which goes on the deck, which we actually haven't tested yet, is the dinghy. According to measurements, of course, the dinghy should fit just fine on our foredeck, but things are always a little different between measurements and actually seeing the thing in reality. When we first got down here, my back was actually really bad, so I couldn't carry the dinghy up here, but I'm feeling a bit better, so we're gonna test it out, and fingers crossed the dinghy actually fits up here. Let's go have a look.
Bringing the dinghy up the ladder would have been quite challenging, so we devised a plan where we would pull it up with pulleys. There was a perfect rafter parallel to the boat, but more towards the bow, so we slung up the pulleys and pulled it up there.
I guess the only thing is maybe I'm nervous about knocking that camera off. But you're gonna go up there to pull it into that.
And then I can pull the stern first or something.
Okay.
The thing now is that it's gonna come this way, so we should maybe try to do that a bit with support.
Okay. Magic carpet now.
There. Set it on that foam thing that we have there.
Well, if that's a good way to make sure my back is no longer doing well again. Where do you want it?
Oh, on the box there. I'm happy to say that we do have space for the dinghy. It's always a bit of a compromise. I do like having the visibility, so it does obstruct that, of course, but on the other side there is space for it. Looks pretty cool, especially the wooden cabin top. Yeah.
I mean, I do think that it's great how the side decks are so clear. Like, you can walk all the way up to the bow on both sides, no problem.
I love that too. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
The length totally works.
Yeah, the length does too.
I mean, when you're sailing in more protected waters, I don't think, having this much of a space is any problem.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it could be a problem if you're getting, like, a lot of waves over the bow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on the whole it fits pretty well.
No, it does. Yeah.
It's a little unstable, but so it will definitely have to be, like, tied down.
Absolutely.
You definitely can't just let it sit here.
Oh yeah,
But
we would do that. Yeah.
That's okay.
Put up some shocks, dinghy chocks, I think they're called.
Yeah.
And I'm really also looking forward to the weather turning around to actually take the dinghy out for a sail. There's gonna be a video about that, don't worry. Alright, all the holes are filled with epoxy and it is cured now, and that's what it looks like. Very important, very easy and quick and satisfying. Pretty happy with that. While working on the cabin top, I also did some prep work to the cabin sides, and unfortunately we uncovered a problem area. So after peeling off the glass on the cabin sides here, this previous repair has become more visible, and there is still some areas that seem a little affected, and there's also 2 big cracks that go all the way through. So we are going to do something about this. And the idea is, it's rather a simple method, though we're not going to big lengths here. But I will take the router, take away material to half of the depth of the cabin sides, and basically allow for room to put in a plank over top of all of this that we still want to remove. So that stabilizes the 2 cracks that are here, and it removes this funky bit right here in the middle. A Dutchman repair is if you take out a piece and then you make an equivalent that slots into place, which is the Dutchman. I don't know why. There's many ways of going about a repair like this, but you trace a pattern You remove material with whatever tool, router or whatever works for that situation, and then you make an equivalent puzzle piece that fits into that gap. Making the slot with the router was not easy, not because of the router, but just in general, it's in a very awkward position. The router takes away very little material at once, so it is many repetitions, many passes, always a little more. Okay, work with the router is done. It's not my proudest work. I should have maybe used a more powerful one, but when it's in awkward positions and the small ones, the trim routers are just super handy, and by me having been impatient, I was taking off more than I should have. Anyway, it is done. We do want to progress with this and have it closed up as quick as possible. That's why I'm heating up the area a little bit, and then when the wood is nice and warm, I will apply penetrating epoxy to the area. We also got some interesting packages in the mail this week, and we thought we would share what has arrived.
Full disclosure, this arrived, Aladino opened it, and then I was like, no, we have to film it, so he closed it up again. They didn't send it with duct tape. So we are slowly working on accumulating appliances, etc., that we're going to install in the boat, just so that we don't get to that stage and suddenly have to put in a whole bunch of orders and make a bunch of decisions. And this to me is one of the most important things that you can have in a boat, especially if you're going to be sailing around the tropics. We really learned this the hard way when sailing around the Mediterranean, because we didn't have one at first and I died. So the reason why this is such a priority for us, first of all, just having airflow in the boat reduces mold, it cools you down in hot weather, it's super important. But I think secondly, when we were in the Med, we didn't have one, I was dying, we just went to a chandlery and bought one, and it helped a lot, but it was so loud. The fan that we have on Magic Carpet 1 is so loud, so anytime we were filming, we had to turn it off. It was just annoying, honestly, to sleep with, to have on, you had to sort of shout over it, you had to turn music up. So I really wanted fans that were functional and not super loud.
We reached out to Caframo and told them about our project, and they decided to donate a box with 4 fans in it. So thank you very much. I've never had this fan on any of my boats before, but I've seen them on clients' boat that I worked on, and I was always very impressed.
Okay. All right, we've hooked it up to a battery, which is really easy, just 2 cables. I think it runs off 12 and 24 volt, but of course we're just going with 12 volts, so that's fine for us. And, okay, well, I just turned it on.
I can barely hear it from here.
Yeah.
I believe on maximum speed it does 54 decibel.
Okay.
Which is...
Well, let's try maximum speed. So you can still hear me talking over it, which is great. This is a lot of air. This is nearly too much air, especially because we're going to have multiple of them. So we obviously did a bunch of research before choosing these, as we do for literally every single product.
Don't stick your finger in it.
Oh, I accidentally just turned it on. As we do for every single product that we want to install on the boat. The one thing that we came across when researching these, sort of the one drawback that people brought up, was the fact that this metal grill is not that protective, I guess. There's room for your fingers to go in. To us, this is just not a huge concern. And the reason why, first of all, just having less of a grill here actually means more airflow. There's less sort of impedance to the air. But second of all, we're all adults. Don't stick your fingers in the fans. I don't know what to tell you.
Pretty much.
But also, these are really soft blades. They're finger safe. They're super bendy, so it's not like they're going to slice you open. I'm not going to test that out, but...
And I haven't tried taking it apart, but I think it's actually maintenance or cleaning friendly, because we use one in the galley on Magic Carpet 1, and it just traps all the grease. And I think this one could be cleanable pretty easily.
That's true, actually. You can just reach in here and actually clean the blades.
Nice. Bonus.
Yeah. So be an adult, don't stick your fingers in there, and you'll be fine. Thank you so much, Caframo. the Sirocco 2 fan. We've got 4 of them, and they're going to be very, very, very useful on board.
The second package actually came from a publishing house in Australia, and we wanted to share that with you because we thought it would come in handy for fellow sailors. It's written by Catherine Lawson and David Bristow, and they live on their catamaran. And so it is a cookbook essentially, but it's not a normal cookbook. It has a lot of practical advice, and it's very much part of the sailing niche because it's very, very specific. A lot of advice for sailors. And as the title suggests, it's also about what can you catch yourself, the hunter and the gatherer. So yeah, it's very practical, and it's illustrated with beautiful photos that they took on their cruise. Yeah, it gets us dreaming and very excited about splashing our boat in the near future and then diving into these sort of adventures. So thanks a lot to Catherine and David, and we'll put a link in the description. After doing 2 generous passes of penetrating epoxy on the cabin sides, it was time to put in the Dutchman repair. When installing the Dutchman, I'm looking for a void-free installation. I want there to be plenty epoxy squeeze out. I do want the Dutchman to slide fully into place. I'm watching the screw depth. I don't want screws coming out on the interior. I also don't want the screws to go deep enough because I still have to shape the Dutchman after it is in place. So yeah, it was many things, and it's always a little goopy, so you better have gloves prepared and a good game plan and all the clamps ready.
All right, Dinghy, you've made the repair.
I've made a big mess. Called a repair.
So I know you're not like super happy about this repair because we've talked about it.
No, this is... No, knock on wood, this shall do. And we're still, gonna do our best with some more penetrating epoxy from the inside. Certainly better than it was before.
I would say we're definitely at a point in the refit where we're driving towards the finish line, and we really just want to get this boat in the water. This was, I would say, a very unfortunate surprise. We were really hoping that when we took the fiberglass off the cabin sides that we wouldn't have to actually do any repairs, but Dinghy, I'm super proud of this repair that you made. I know it's not like your favorite thing in the world, but I think it will be more than sufficient. So for now, I think this episode is going to come to a close. As always, thank you very, very much for watching. And you guys really help keep this project moving along in so many more ways than you think. Really, truly, we couldn't do this without you. I couldn't do this without you. So thank you. Extra big thanks to our patrons for making this all possible. If you'd like to become a patron for as little as $2 a month, and every now and then, not often, but every now and then we get some confusion from people about the $2 a month thing, because patron, you can basically like choose how many videos you support per month. So you can choose to donate $2 for every video, so every week, or you can choose to donate $2 for only one video a month. So just be sure to, pay attention while you're signing up to make sure that you choose what you would like to do. And in exchange for becoming a patron, whether you support one video a month or all 4 videos a month, we post real-time updates every Tuesday. And those real-time updates are usually in the form of a short vlog, much less edited than the YouTube stuff, more conversational, where we do a walkthrough of the boat, what we've done that week, bring up some real-time questions and ideas and thoughts about the planning. And yeah, it's just something that never appears anywhere else. So patrons, huge thanks. It's really you guys that keep this project going. We really, truly appreciate it. And extra big thanks to the folks whose names are now appearing on screen for always going the extra mile to make sure Magic Carpet keeps being produced. We will see you next week. Hopefully the weather starts getting a bit warmer here. although the forecast isn't looking promising at the moment, but fingers crossed. All right, so we have a bit of catching up to do with our list because we haven't incorporated it in the past few episodes. The fact is, this is such a sort of like general overview list. It doesn't really get to all the daily tasks and all of the steps actually involved in each project, but we do have several things to cross off both from this episode and the past episodes when we neglected to do so. So let me have a look. The deck, we glassed the decks. Not the bulwarks, so I can't cross that one off yet. We have pretty much sanded everything now, including the cabin top, so I think I can fully cross that off for now. That was a long time in the making, because that was a really hard job with the sander on your knees, so we did it sort of like an hour a day instead of doing it all at once, just to preserve our sanity slightly. I don't know if it worked. Cockpit, we have glassed the scuppers shut, so we did that. I mean, shut is maybe not the right word, but we glassed them. And sand the cockpit plywood, I did that. We did in last week's episode prime the remaining areas in the saloon, so I can cross that one off. Here on the deck, we have prep all holes for hardware, so the epoxy overfill situation, and Aladino did do that. So we can cross that one off. Preparing the cabin top, we made the scarf, which is scarfing the fiberglass onto the cabin side so that we have a smooth transition. So we can cross that one off. Yeah, and then we also did many things that aren't on the list that are just sort of part of the road to get there, but that was a pretty good crossing off session. I think we can be happy with that. All right, we'll see you all next week. Thanks for being here.